And a good morning to you. Welcome inside the bottom line. It's 173 degrees this morning. Welcome to summer here on May the 4th. I do not want to wake up to 66 degrees on May the 4th. I'll go ahead and tell you because it scares me what it's going to be in July and August.
I thought it was 32 and partly cloudy.
Wow. I do not like that. I'm not ready for summertime. Not by any means of the imagination. Got a new man in here with me this morning. He surprise visitor, always welcome. Bill Bender will give us a call about 8:20. I had some things I wanted to get to anyway that we didn't get to yesterday. Juju will got a call from Juju this morning. We'll have him to close out the program. Want to go first. We'll wait to get into a little bit of the NIL with Bill. A lot of talk yesterday from the talking heads about NIL and how so many college presidents, administrators, ADs were just naive about the whole situation and thinking, well, it's only going to affect a couple of quarterbacks. It's really not going to affect that many. And it's gone crazy. Tales of players saying, you know, I can't come for less than $10,000 a month, and on and on and on. And I told Juju when I talked to him this morning, there was a former player that was on with either Cal Hurd or Dan Patrick yesterday that said, why is everybody so surprised? There's no difference now than it was, except it's on top of the table.
Yeah.
The money was always flowing. And if you think it wasn't, then you just need to go put your head back in the sand because it was. Richie, good morning. Andy Royals, good morning. Stephen, good morning. Yes, Richie, may the 4th be with you.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I got beat up one time over Cinco de Mayo when I was at ESPN 730. I was on the air, and I asked, when is Cinco de Mayo? I knew that it was the 5th of May. My question I was asking was, what day is it on?
It's somebody's,
somebody thought I didn't know that it was the 5th of May.
That's fantastic. That's like call 911. What's the number?
Yeah. I'm like, I know that part, idiots. I want to know what day of the week it's on because it was coming up, you know.
I found out something a couple of weeks ago that I didn't know, that, you know, in Star Wars, all of the Jedis were actually Lutherans, and I didn't know that. Like Obi-Wan and
really?
Luke Scott, yeah. You know, it's really interesting, and my pastor was telling me about it. He said, well, you know they're all Lutherans. And I said, no. He said, yes. He said, when they look at each other and they say, somebody says to them, may the force be with you, they stand up and look back at them and say, and also with you.
Mm-hmm. We do that, and we're Baptists, you know, just to cast off.
Sorry.
Mandy, good morning.
Sorry.
Good morning.
Terrible joke.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I'm used to it.
But it was fantastic.
Don't quit your day job.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Oh, gosh. A little clean humor, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of get you started here this morning. Yeah. All right, I'm going to throw something out there for you that I wanted to get to yesterday and I didn't get to. And we talked about it briefly off the air. I'm of the mindset, and I know there will be people that argue with me, I'm of the mindset that there are more than 53 potential players for any team. It depends on your circumstances and a lot of things falling into place that you get picked up by the NFL.
Yep.
There are a lot of players that could play that don't get that look, don't get that opportunity.
Right.
And a lot of it comes from, and you know this like I do, you've got kids that don't have the grades, either start through the JUCO trail, or they go to a different division.
Yes.
Even though they've got D1 skills,
right?
They have the skills to be a potential NFL player, but they're never gonna get that look.
Right.
And I think that's so unfair because I hear people say all the time that, you know, we can't. Now there are still some freaks. Okay, and I get that can't be replaced and can't be duplicated.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of players on a team that there are some more interchangeable pieces out there, but they don't get the opportunity. Would you agree or disagree?
Oh, 100%. And you know, it's such a fine line because, look at like Roethlisberger. You know, replacing Tommy Maddox. They knew Ben. They were hopeful that Ben was going to develop and he was already a big guy. And and again, I'm just using him.
Had the
as
measurables.
one of many. Okay, I am a homer with Pittsburgh, but I try to be very objective with the other other organizations too. But he comes to mind because the plan was for him not to play for a couple of years. Maddox was a good quarterback and very steady and a good distributor, and I mean he wasn't
wasn't top tier.
Right,
he was very serviceable.
But that wasn't what they needed.
Serviceable inside the system that they had.
Kind of like a Dilfer.
That's right.
To get, because their defense was, as we know, pretty good, right? But Mattis goes down, they're like, well, red shirt season's over, here we go, right? And he goes in, and they're 15-1. So, with him starting.
I'm trying to figure out how, you've got Josh Allen.
Yes,
and you've got some other receivers even in this year's draft that came from FCS-type programs.
Yep.
And I'm wondering what has been the change and how is the NFL and the scouting side of it working that they're starting to see that there's some talent? I guess it is.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that was kind of the next segue going into it. Imagine the difference. And we're talking about somebody like Peyton, Brady. The edge used to be the ability to evaluate the talent and find it. Kind of like, well, this is my secret because I can see pretty much what this kid's going to be able to do. And now there's so many people that are able to see it this way, and then they can go see it live and determine for themselves. I think now, the athleticism part speaks for itself. I think the real divide between the great ones and the one that produce long term and the ones that are great that are just trouble, it's a character. Character. You got to decipher the character of the person.
I'm wondering if you may start to see a little bit of a change in where they go harvest prospects. And the reason I say that, and I could be totally wrong and off base here, okay? I'm making a generic statement here. I'm betting that there are more places with players with the same attributes but a better character side because they don't have everything that's been put in front of them from being in a big-time program, if that makes sense.
No,
you know what I'm
100%.
saying? When you get handed everything, a lot of kids can't handle that. And that's where they come off the rails.
Yes.
To where you take a kid that hasn't been that, they become a lot more appreciative of the opportunity and not be expected the opportunity.
Let me give you that's a great point. A great example is, when people say, you got to step up right here, you got to be big. Actually, that's a great saying, and people say that, be big right here, be about the moment. You always fall to the level of your training in a big moment, right? And so that's kind of where it is. Think of it like this. If you have great players, all right, that train in an environment that allows them to go out and display their skills and be successful, then you can't have a program that's got a bunch of ass clowns in it, okay, and somebody's a head coach that doesn't know how to promote an environment where these kids that train can go in and be allowed to play and produce their skills. Okay, that's and I don't mean, I hate to use that word, but it's the best way to describe it. Okay, we see this happen a lot in smaller colleges because they have to. Sometimes and I mean small ones, they have to just grab who will come work there because there is a financial issue, and of course in high school and things like that, right? And it's really frustrating. Think of it like this, and I'm going to use this example. Imagine you have a teacher that is trained through undergraduate degrees and through a master's degree and did a really good job in student teaching and practicum teaching, has the mentality, has the pedigree, of being in a line of teachers, okay? And when they graduate from college fully, they are ready to go out. Or let's say they started working for a couple of years and then got their master's and then maybe moving on to EDS and doctorate and that kind of thing. But if you take that teacher and put them in an environment where there's no discipline, or the teacher's trying to discipline, but yet it's still chaotic because the principal or assistant principal won't back them up, all right, that teacher's not going to be able to produce what they've learned, i.e. training of athletes. That's why when you have kids that train really hard, okay, no matter what school they're in, okay, and they train really hard, and the environment is not right for them to go out and produce from the training they've had, that's when you have great players that are only able to perform mediocre tasks. Because of the way the environment's set up.
And, the other thing that has always been hard to coach and motivate players, and I've always said this, and you see it any level, I don't care what it is, and it's in the same vein that you're talking about, teams are bad to play down to the level of competition.
That's why.
Instead of putting that foot on the throat and shutting it down, they play around.
Right.
And you'll see teams that will play
100%.
Twice as well against a top-notch team and possibly almost get beat by a team they should have dominated because they play down to that. It's all mental. The 6 inches between your ears is the toughest place to navigate.
You are 100% spot on. You are 100% right. And what it all falls down to is the level of training that you've had across the board and mentality of your team to be able to overcome that.
It's not just about weights and running and that kind of stuff. No. It's the mental aspect of it too.
It's the mental approach that you take in doing what you do to make sure that doesn't happen more than once. When I coached baseball at Maiden 25 years ago, West Lincoln was always seemed to be the one that gave, that we just, for whatever, we could sweep Shelby, we could beat Cherryville. It didn't matter to us. When we go play West Lincoln, it was like, oh. And I thought, my second year, I was like, I got to fix this. This is not a West Lincoln thing. This is a Maiden thing. And so I just lined the guys up, out on the fence and basically just started tearing into them and asking them what the problem was and how we could fix it. It wasn't about, like you said, going out and practicing fly balls and hitting and ground balls.
They had that part.
We were going to get that side right, okay? Whether it was through disciplinary tactics such as, we never did anything for punishment. We did it for discipline, right? I said, today we're going to be focused on beating West Lincoln and playing our best game, not, oh, no, we're going to play them. So we decided to run for a little while. A little while. And I basically ran the bull crap out of them. And we went out and played very well the next day, and they got the message, and we didn't have an issue with that for 2 more years.
Those mental hurdles.
Crazy stuff, man.
The mental hurdles are tough. I mean, they're tough at any level, and especially when you're talking middle school, high school, because a lot of kids – they're developing on the mental side differently from a maturity standpoint because it's all about maturity is what it is.
Absolutely.
But you still have those jackass players in the pros that don't have their mental – they don't have their mental game together, and it shows. It comes through.
Think about how toxic an environment is when you say, oh, that guy's a great playmaker. The best player's got to play. No, they don't. Because it will destroy everything that has been built and done up to that point by that environment not being 100% tight or, as tight as it can be to allow everyone in it to display their talents and characteristics and be able to move on. And I think that's what athletic directors, that miss a lot that I've seen. And I'm a former AD twice, assistant AD a couple times too in high school. And, that was one of the things of hiring practices that, I was always adamant about is, number one, are you going to be able to control the environment to allow the young people to display their talents and, achieve and receive their full potential, and try to exceed, even that, the 110% thing. A lot of people say you can't give 110% of anything. Sometimes it's abilities 100, and then the other 10% comes from
attitude.
Other things. Okay, so a person that says I don't believe you can, that's fine. That's their opinion. But I 100%
Yeah.
110% disagree.
Let me take a break. Andrew, good morning. Brian Danner, good morning. Honey, good morning. My wife was out and about this morning. I went to get some gas and get me a Monster, and I passed her on West Maiden Road at 6:30, and I had to call her to make sure she was awake. She had to take her mom for a little cataract procedure. And I told her when I passed her, I said, I wasn't sure that you was awake. I thought I better check on you just to make sure. Richie, I'm going to get to that after Bill Bender, the Ryan Tannehill thing. That's another good topic.
Ooh.
But let me take a break, and then when we come back, Bill will join us. We'll be back with more here on The Bottom Line.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with departments staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times. And welcome back. Glad to have you here on a Hump Day Wednesday. As we do each and every week, we'll go to our phone lines and bring our guest on from Sporting News, Bill Bender. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Couple of topics like to get into. How about the draft? I thought it was going to be a boring draft. I thought it was going to be an uninteresting draft, and it was interesting through the first round, and it kind of held its own. And my biggest surprise, and I'll get your take, which you thought was, the Panthers were one of the biggest surprises in the way that they drafted because it actually made sense, and I'm trying to figure out who's running the place now.
Yeah, they went and got the quarterback later. They didn't fall for the Baker Mayfield trade. You get Icky to start. I mean, they had a good draft. It was a fun draft to watch. There was a lot of trades, a lot of receivers taken early, and we can do all the grades we want, and we do that at Sporting News like everybody else. But you're not going to know till they play for a while.
Who do you think? I know a lot of the talk has been on the teams that have been not traditionally done well in drafting. The teams that come to mind, the Detroit Lions look like they had a good draft, and your Jets look like they had a good draft. And then some of the other topics that I heard come up was some of the players that were taken by certain franchises are not known for developing players, and could that be a problem? But it seems like we're sort of making a transition and turning the corner, and some franchises are getting straightened out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The Jets had a good draft by, just players. I mean, they got Sauce Gardner, they got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, guys that are going to play right away. Jeremy Ruckert, the tight end. Those are starting players on their team. Detroit trading up for Jameson Williams. That was an aggressive move to go with Aiden Hutchinson. He should be solid. It's still, like I said, you still got to see it happen. I think the Baltimore Ravens are a team that's kind of a proven NFL draft team. They always draft well, and this draft looked pretty good for them too, getting Kyle Hamilton in the secondary, Tyler Linderbaum. They had like 6 fourth-round picks, and not too many misses there for them.
Bill, this is for who do you think won the draft? Like, if you had to pick who you felt like did the very best, and you made a great point about we're going to have to wait and see these guys play. But who do you think, just right off the cuff, had the best draft?
Well, I'd say the Ravens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting 2 starters in the first round. They get Isaiah Likely, Coastal Carolina tight end, and Charlie Kohler. They'll be able to shift some things around there. I know they traded Hollywood Brown, and that might have upset Lamar a little bit. But
yeah,
I'm not too worried about it. Philadelphia, too. Philadelphia gets A.J. Brown in the trade, Jordan Davis, and then Nakobe Dean falls to them. He was the medical draft day slide guy, but I still think he can play. So those are kind of the teams that I thought did a really good job.
We talked about it earlier in the show. It seems like NFL franchises are going outside the normal powerhouses to get players. You're starting to see some from the FCS. You're seeing from the Group 5, and they're finding kind of diamonds in the rough. Because look at the one school that got shut out from the draft that's going to really kill them in recruiting, I think, is Texas.
I couldn't believe that they didn't have anybody drafted. And you wouldn't think that would happen at a place like Texas. But it did, and we'll see how but I think Steve Sarkisian's going to change that over the next few years, and NIL is certainly going to help them a little bit. A lot of FCS players drafted. That was the trend I noticed. Quite a few. I think it was 16 maybe, and some from the Division II ranks. And that just goes to show, as you guys know, that you can find players from anywhere, and the scouting that's available now, your tape can get in front of somebody. So yeah, that was a cool trend to see.
Well, that seems to be the thing. The scouting department doesn't seem to be worried about kind of sticking their neck out, going to look for players wherever they can find them. And one of the things that we mentioned earlier, I think that they're doing that because they seem to be having some attitude, character type issues with some of these top-notch stars that once they get in the league, they can't do anything with them.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, and some of that's the Belichick factor, the fact that he'll go out and take a Chattanooga offensive lineman in the first round. And Green Bay grabs their first receiver in the draft is a North Dakota State guy. Christian Watson, I think he'll have a good career there. And some of it, there's some D2 guys that were taken as well. So, all in all, I think, but it doesn't change the fact that, the SEC still had a very high number of players taking Big Ten second, and then it's kind of like the SEC, the Big Ten, and everybody else, and that's kind of how college football feels right now.
We're talking about Bill Bender, Sporting News. Switch over to NIL. A lot of talk about NIL getting out of control because they didn't do anything to regulate this from the beginning, because none of this money in NIL is coming out of the revenue streams from the universities, TV contracts, conference share money, anything. What would be the motivation of the universities to get a handle on this, because it doesn't affect them? And can they get a handle once it's already started?
It's going to be tough now. As everybody's saying, it's out of the box. It's going to be tough to regulate. A lot came to light with this Jordan Addison situation, who he's not going to USC yet, but if he does, at the end of the day, you're going to hear talks about tampering, about, a lot of the tweets I'm reading and what I'm hearing is, there was a Dennis Dodd tweet yesterday, said he talked to a coach who said recruiting now starts with NIL negotiations.
Yes.
That's not healthy for the sport, and that's not going to be healthy for the sport.
Do you see it? Do you see it separating itself with the big players going in a separate direction and then trying to get a handle on it for everybody that's left?
We'll see, but
Vanderbilt can't compete in the SEC with NIL money.
Right, and I think it won't matter for some of the blue chip guys, but I'm just saying there's going to be some overvalue, like inflation on, and that's the problem. Is okay, so you're going to pay a quarterback. Let's just use an example. A Tennessee quarterback gets $4 million in NIL money, and then he's horrible. Now, at what point are we correcting the market, and how many bad investments is it going to take, and are these players going to get their money if they bust? And I just think there's a lot of variables at work there that. And one solution, it's not perfect, is they're going to have to regulate it in some way down the line, and I'm wondering if a college football team needs a salary cap too.
Well, that's what we've talked about before. Then you're into a players' association and a cap and all the things that go along with it. And Ford and I have talked about it, just like with the pros. It's almost like the pros. Nobody wants to play out their contract. Do you go to one-year contracts?
That may be next, and something like that. And you're hearing Gene Smith. I talked about this earlier this morning in Columbus. You're hearing him talk about the college football playoff needs to break the football off of the NCAA, and that could happen. Yeah. They could take 65 schools or whatever number you want to come up with, and go do their own thing. And I think those conversations have become very real, and wouldn't be surprised if it's going to happen down the line.
I wouldn't either.
So, Bill, possibilities from the NIL, players talk about and have had a good point. We're out here playing. We feel like we need to be paid for this. At what point does the university, that provides the health care and the staff for the players, the TV contracts, ESPN and whoever else, at what point do they say, you know what, we're actually providing all the necessary means, so now we want part of this money to come back to us? At what point does that happen?
Yeah, that's the problem, is right now the student athletes are getting NIL money from outside entities, and at what point, that's certainly going to happen too, because the university wants that, and the NFL will just sit back and watch, because they're still wanting.
That's right.
They've got all their money anyway, and on all they want, it would give them an excuse to go make a minor league football, and that's why we talk about the XFL and the USFL and all those kind of things. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of changes coming. As soon as the next 5 years, I don't think the landscape looks anything like it does now on the top levels in 5 years. Bill Bender, Sporting News, as always, we appreciate your time, my friend.
Hey, great conversation, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, sir. That's Bill Bender. We'll take a break. Be back with more.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with departments staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. Times convenience stores are more than convenient. They're your neighborhood store, your store. With locations in Lincoln, Catawba, Gaston, Iredell, and Mecklenburg counties, there's one near you. Times convenience stores have the right items at the right price, from snacks, cold drinks, and light meals from the grill, and there's always a special to save you time and money. Times has what you need. Times convenience stores, there's one near you. Regardless of where you're going, there's one on your way. Remember, there's always time to stop by Times.
Go back.
There we go. Had to turn it on. It helps. It works better. Juju will join us here in just a short while. One more topic I want to get to. A couple comments came in. Brian said, "This is why I love coaching Pee-wee kids. I love getting them early, but I do feel like the rules have changed so much, and they've taken the fun out of the game. Many kids are becoming soft." Just my opinion. No, that's been going on for a while, because sports is not easy.
Right.
So if you don't want to put the work and sweat and time into it, there are easier things you could do to entertain yourself. When we grew up, especially me, sports was all you had. There wasn't anything else. You played with imaginary friends in the yard because there wasn't video games and there was 3 channels on the TV, and it just wasn't there. So sports was the outlet. So you're right.
And I think, I don't know, and Brian, I can understand why Brian's saying that, right? But looking into it a little deeper, kind of what you and I were talking about, it's not really that kids are softer today. They have a different environment to grow up in that doesn't promote any kind of problem resolution on the playground except talking and hugging instead of fisticuffs, okay? You don't go outside and tackle that smaller tree that'll bend a little bit. You learned which ones bend and which ones don't, right? And what I mean is today it's more digital, right? So the body is not like you. And I'm so glad you brought this point up because it's led to so many great calloused. The body's not calloused as much, and so that's why kids today appear that that's because their bodies aren't hardened to some degree from playing outside and falling out of the tree house. Today is, oh, my God, don't get up there, you're going to fall. Well, that's the way you learn not to get up there and to be stupid, and you can tell somebody you want all you want.
The other side, on the mental side, is the same way. The mental side's not callous, and you don't know how to handle things when it doesn't go your way. Speaking of which, Ryan Tannehill, quarterback of the Titans, Richie had asked this, lost to the Bengals in the divisional round through 3 interceptions. And he said it's a deep scar. Every time I close my eyes, I kind of rewatch the game. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep for weeks. I was in a dark place, and it took me a while, a lot of work to get out of it. I've worked through it, but therapy, talking to people, time helped. It took a lot of work to get through it. Here's the thing, and I say this all the time. When you have an issue just like this, it does not do you any good once you've identified where your failure was, where you came apart. Once you've identified that and come up with a plan to fix that moving forward, that issue needs to go away because you can't fix it. You can't fix what happened. You can make it better moving forward and hopefully not let it happen again. That's why failures work and failures educate you and failures help prepare you for the future. Not to relive the failure, but to identify your shortcomings and address those and move forward and hopefully not repeat it. And I get that with him. And then the other side of it is he's made the statement he's not there to be a mentor to Malik Willis.
Okay, that's not the worst thing to say. Because what it does is it gets rid of the fluff and the feelings so Willis can come in and start being a professional right away instead of needing, not a daddy, but you know what I'm saying, instead of needing someone. Brett Favre did Aaron Rodgers the ultimate favor by saying that same thing. It made him focus on what was most important, and that was there to do his job, be a professional, and learn every day. In no way does that mean that Tannehill is not going to be good friends with him or help him. What he's doing is he's smart. And this guy is such – he's been through everything. He was a receiver for 2 years in college, and then, he was a quarterback. They said he'd never make it as a quarterback. And here he was just a couple of games away. Probably had the best team with the exception of the Bengals ended up being the best, but probably had the best team in the AFC last year. That's arguable, Buffalo and things like that, but they were one of the top 3 for sure. My point to all this is I don't think he's saying that, in my opinion, to be a nice person. I think what he's doing is setting the stage for that guy to come in and do his job and be a professional and try to beat him out, instead, because Tannehill knows if he's got competition behind him, it's going to make him better. That's how he's always thrived on competition, not being somebody's mentor. That's all I'm saying. It's just another point of view. I'm maybe 100% wrong.
I'll tell you what he said. He said, I don't think it's my job to mentor him, but if he learns from me along the way, that's a great thing.
Yes.
I think it's the job of the starting quarterback, to make sure that whoever plays under him is just as prepared as he is, because anything can happen going down for an injury.
Yep.
Now, if you're a better athlete, you will win the spot. You can't let that be part of whether you help this guy along or not. He's still a teammate, and you're doing it for the team is what you're doing, the way I look at it.
Right.
Also, Tannehill said the Titans didn't notify him when they were selecting Willis with the 86th pick, although he said he texted Willis soon after the team made the selection. Veteran quarterback said he understands how the league works and welcomes the competition. Now, outside the first round, I don't know that you need to consult a starting player of who you're taking.
I wouldn't.
Because this is a developmental player. This is not a replacement.
Even in first round, I wouldn't.
And he also said it was his first chance to react to the Titans' draft day night, sending number 1 wide receiver A.J. Brown to the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Titans used their first-round pick they received in a trade to select rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks. Now, he said, I was shocked when I first found out. I'm like, this isn't real. This isn't happening. It's a rumor. And then I talked to AJ and found out it was real. I slept terrible. He's having a lot of sleep problems. He needs to adjust that. Grow up. And kept thinking it was just a bad dream. But that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Now, here's the part that they did this, why the Titans did this, in my opinion. They're watching their money. If they can get another receiver that they feel like they can get the same production on a rookie contract for 5 years, then they've got more money to spend in other places.
Right.
That's
to win a
smart.
Super Bowl.
That's
win a Super Bowl.
smart
Yes.
franchise
Yes.
move right
Yes.
there. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
People are uncomfortable with what they don't know. And, Tannehill doesn't know about this, new player coming in, this receiver, as much as he's comfortable with, his wideout. So that's okay.
All right. I'm not gonna take a break because we're tight on time, but I got Juju I talked to earlier this morning. We'll give you that. Don't forget, no show tomorrow and Friday. Boys will be in here on Saturday morning, and we'll be back on Monday. So have a good weekend. We're going to hear from Juju. Welcome back to the Bottom Line. Lanny Ford along with you here this morning. We'll head to the phones as we do each and every Wednesday and catch up with our good friend Juju Phillips. Good morning to you, sir.
Lanny, good morning. Always a pleasure to join you on a Wednesday morning.
Big happenings out of Hickory with Lenore Ryan. Decisive win over Wingate for the SAC championship. What's next for the Bears in baseball?
Well, they got to wait, Lanny, for a couple of weeks, actually, about 10 or 12 days. I think because of the way the NCAA does their Division II playoffs, because they're teams from all over the country and especially up north, I think the southern teams get finished a little bit earlier. And so the northern teams are going through what is the conference tournament and their end of their season this week and next week. So I think by the end of next week, LR will know who they will play, and when the rankings or the ratings come out for the region, they'll probably know who they will play. But more than likely, in talking with some people this week and yesterday, in fact, they're thinking that there's a possibility, since LR went into their conference tournament seeded 5th and the top 6 teams go in the playoffs, they have a chance to move up because they knocked off the number 1 seed. So there's a chance that they could get actually some home games for the first regionals, for the first couple of games of the regionals before the super regionals hit in. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But right now they're simply sitting back and basking in the glory of winning their first conference tournament championship in 21 years. LR's they've been in the wilderness, so to speak, when it comes to baseball over the last couple of decades.
There's other team doing pretty well up there. Also, I think the lacrosse team has still got some future left, don't they?
They do, and they are a program that's been in the national picture for the number of years now. We've had their coach on the show with us a couple of times, and they were in the finals, the national championship game, not so long ago, just last year, in fact. A year ago this time. LR was in the national championship in lacrosse, losing to Lemoyne. But, they won their conference tournament championship for the second straight year. They're nationally ranked. They're more than likely going to get a top seed. They won't get the number 1 seed, but they will likely get a number 2 or a number 3 seed, which means they'll have a home game. And they will probably do that a week from, next week as well, a week from this Saturday. So possibly that they'll have more home games coming up in the playoffs. Now, lacrosse is a little bit different. They don't. It's not a nationwide sport. It's mostly in the Northeast and in the South in Division II, and there's a chance that Lenoir-Rhyne will have to play if they win their first round of their playoff game, their tournament game. They'll have to go to the number 1 seed, which is Tampa, University of Tampa. So that's what's looking ahead for them. And the softball team, the women's softball team, is also in the regional playoffs, and they will start next week as well.
Well, so there's a lot of happenings. You know, there's a lot of big things going on at Lenoir-Rhyne, and talking about lacrosse and maybe, you know, what they're going to do. Give me an update on the football stadium and where it's at, because one thing's for sure, rain hasn't slowed them down.
No, they've enclosed the press box, Lanny, and they're working on inside the press box, and that includes the second and third levels and everything that goes on inside there. So even if it does rain, they're working on completing that. But as for the stadium construction and renovation, it's coming along. The home side, they're getting ready to put in the seats in the stands as well. They got, I think, the outside layer, so to speak, and they're getting ready to do that. And as soon as the lacrosse season is over, and I'm guessing maybe in a week or two, whenever their home season is over, then they'll start on the visitor side. Now, they've already started over on the eastern part of Moretz Stadium, and they're getting ready. They've laid the foundation, and they're getting ready to put the walls up for the lacrosse locker room and the entrance to the visitor side. And they're getting ready to put up the scoreboard. They're getting ready to put in some luxury suites, I guess, not suites, but luxury areas in the corners of the end zones of the home and on the visitor side. They got probably 100 guys working each and every day. I mean, they're climbing up places and putting up things. They put up the brick on the press box, and they're putting on the outside portion of the press box as well. They're finishing that up. They put the windows in to the press box. So they're coming along. They're about 40% done, 40 to 50% done at the football stadium right now, and well ahead of schedule, I was told. I was told over the weekend that they're probably about 6 or 7 days ahead of schedule.
Now, you talk about a new scoreboard. I know, is that going to be on both ends, or are they replacing the one down on the open end as well?
I was told that it was going to be on both ends. They've torn down the one that was in the opened end of the stadium.
Okay.
It has been torn down, and they're going to make it a bigger one, wider, and they're going to center it almost right behind the goalpost. And then they're going to put up supposedly another scoreboard as well up on the back wall of Shuford Memorial Gymnasium. So it's coming along. They got a lot of things going on right now. I mean, you can't, and with the team, with the success of the baseball team going on right now, they are expected maybe to break ground on their baseball stadium grandstand area sometime in early August.
Okay. You know, one of the things, and you know this like I do, you got to have success to be able to do this. And then when you do have some success, the other thing that kind of happens is you're able to start providing more and more. It feeds on itself. It's a cycle. You can't have one without the other, though.
Yeah, you can. And they are, when you talk about at least the spring sports and throw in football, they're supposedly going to start on renovating the Shuford Memorial Gymnasium, almost 70-year-old gymnasium. They're going to gut it out and put in new seats, take out those old wooden bleachers that local fans remember going to an SD7 tournament game. Those old bleachers, wooden bleachers that have been in in Shuford Gymnasium for, the entire time, 60 years, plus years. They're getting ready to gut that and put new in. My understanding is those seat back. You have a back to the seat, more comfortable area if you want to come and watch a basketball game.
I can tell you this, Juju. I played there in high school. That's where we had our conference tournaments there in high school, and I guess that would have been, I only played basketball 1 year, that would have been 75, 76. But for years, that was the home of the SD7 basketball tournament.
It has been. The hundreds of games. I mean, they played tournament games. They played Western Regionals. They played district games there. They played just so many games. The Harlem Globetrotters have been there. It's been home to a lot of basketball games over the 60-plus years. It's, I think, probably one of the oldest gymnasiums in western North Carolina.
Yeah, I would agree. What else you got going on, my friend?
That's about it, Lanny, is, we're winding down with school and everything. I really enjoyed you and Forrest yesterday's, your back and forth, your conversation about NIL. And we're in a new world right now, and it's going to be interesting to see just if it's going to be the NCAA or whatever it is, the 20 to 30 to 40 schools that dominate college football, what are they going to do to either come together and put together some kind of plan where this, the NIL and transfer portal, they got to come up with some rules and some guidelines and, boundaries, that kind of thing. Because if you don't, again, it's going to continue to be wild, wild west out there.
Well, one of the things, and I'm trying to remember, I listen to, that I catch about 6 hours of talking heads between 9 and 3 with Dan Patrick and Colin Cowherd, and I started getting confused on where I heard it, but one of them had a guest on yesterday. It was a former player, played at LSU, and I do not remember the name, but they asked him his opinion of it, and he said, this is not new. This has been going on for years. It was just under the table. There was always funding, and now it's on top of the table. It doesn't cost the schools anything, so the schools, I would think, Juju, really don't care, because it's not coming out of their TV contract. It's not coming out of gate money. It's having no effect on their financials. And you and I both know we may think it's all about the sports, but it's all about the money. And if it's not coming out of their budgets, it's not coming out of their revenues, they're going to be slow to react because, right now what's happening is they're buying players, and it's completely legal. My question is, I don't know how you go back and regulate it because you've let it out. Who's going to agree to do that? Who's going to be the first one to shut it down? It only takes one conference, one school that says, "Hey, we don't have a problem with this. We're not looking to cut this back."
Well, you got to get a consensus, I would guess, of the Power 5 conferences. We're talking about the.
Wait a minute, you want the Power 5 conferences to agree on anything?
Well,
that doesn't happen.
If you don't, again, it's going to continue to be what it is and continue to go along. I would think that if they're serious about making, not just engaging people, not just going back and forth, but actually finding people that are willing to solve problems and come up with solutions. If they're willing to do that, then they just need to do what they do in the NFL, and that is put in a salary cap and cap all coaching salaries, head coaching salaries. There's no reason why Nick Saban needs to make $10 million or $20. I know that's American way and all the free market system, but there's really no free market anymore in the world. There are caps, there are taxes, there's all of that. I don't want to get into economics or anything, but maybe you ought to start capping the coaching salaries. Maybe you ought to cap how much money can be brought in with NIL. And fund it through the colleges and universities, and have somebody hire some people that do salary cap type things. Make it almost like the a smaller version of the NFL, if you want to do that for the top 20, 30, 40 schools in the nation.
I just don't, like I say, I just don't see it happening because it doesn't have a financial impact on the institutions. When it doesn't have a financial impact on the institutions, they're not willing to do anything. That's why they keep saying that we can't expand the playoffs. They're afraid it will hurt the money in the contracts that are already there. It's not about competition. It's not about making a better product. It's about the money. It's all about the money. And because all of this money that was being funneled before is now on the table and it doesn't affect the universities, I just don't ever see it happening. I just see a further separation of the haves and the have-nots. The NCAA may have to do something about redoing divisions and saying, okay, we're not going to allow this in FCS, or we're not going to allow this. But I don't even see how they can do that. You can't put this genie back in the bottle, and I'm not sure you can regulate it unless you completely make it professional with a players' association, with contracts, and all that type thing.
And you're right. And each school operates separately. I know they're in conferences.
That's correct.
Do they got to find out what is their mission? Are they there to make money? Are they there to follow the money, or are they there to develop young people?
And you tell me one school, just one, that will piss off a major donor. Because that major donor probably doesn't just do it for athletics, they do it for other things non-athletic related. And nobody is going to question that guy because they don't want that money to stop.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about, Lanny, 20, 30, 40 universities.
Yeah.
There are over 800 colleges, universities, if we're talking just football.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing about the other 98% of the schools? I mean, they can't operate at the same model. You know, Alabama can't operate the same model as the University of Memphis, and we all know that. You can't. Or Middle Tennessee State or Lenore Ryan, whoever, Appalachian State, they cannot operate at the same model that Alabama or Clemson or Auburn or Ohio State does. So they got to come. Some smart people out there got to come up with a solution. And I'm sure there are smart people out there that have ideas that probably need to be heard. But again, if they're going to continue to do what they are doing and lump everybody doing the same thing, the same model, financial model, then again, you're going to have, like you said, you're going to have the separation of the haves versus the have-nots.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I just think you're going to continue to see that expanse grow larger between those because I just, you know, when you start talking about you want to regulate like an Alabama, LSU, a Clemson, a Notre Dame, Southern Cal. Look at the money that's out there, especially with Lincoln Riley out there now. Why do they want to change and not be able to buy players? I mean, it makes sense to you and I because we want fair play and we look at athletics the way it should be as competition about the kids. That's not the way it is in college. But I think it's finally going to give us that separation and that top half is going to break away and then maybe they can get control of the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if Southern Cal is going to buy players, then they've got to have a cap on how many players they can buy and which players. And then they got, you know, that gets into some very interesting things that maybe a lot of those schools and universities aren't used to doing, like you said.
Yeah. Ugly times, no doubt. All right, my friend, have a great day. Don't overheat out there. I'm going to try to stay out of the heat if I can.
As am I, Lanny. Thank you.
All right, buddy. We'll see you again on Monday. We should be back in studios. We're going to have Mo Peoples and his folks come in as we had planned this past Monday. That kind of got off the rails a little bit, but should be getting back to that regular schedule next Monday. Have a good one, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Lanny.
Talk to you soon. That'll wind it up for us for today. Hope you have a wonderful show tomorrow. No show Friday. I got to do some traveling, but hope you have a safe and blessed one. We'll see you back again here on Monday night. We should be at Three Hermanos, weather providing. And don't forget the boys being here from 8 to 10 on Saturday. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.